All right, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome from all of us to you for today's webinar. My name is Rubal Walia. I'll be your host today. And today we have a very interesting topic at hand. We're going to be talking about the Citrix Workspace, the intelligent features we've built into Workspace. And we've brought along, one of our key partners, Star2Star, where they bring along a great communication and collaboration tool. And this is where the magic really happens, guys, where you'll get to see how the two technologies have been integrated and how you can use that in your IT infrastructure. This webinar is getting recorded, so please expect a copy in your inbox within the next 24 hours. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to use the questions panel on the GoToW interface. If there are any technical problems that you're having with the audio, the logistics, the webinar, please feel free to chat those over, and we'll try and do our best to answer those over chat. If there are questions that are relevant to the entire audience, we'll take them up in the formal Q&A session that we have at the end of the webinar. With that, let me bring on my speakers. So I have Nitin Sharma, my good friend. Nitin, you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, thanks, Rubal. Nitin Sharma, Senior Product Marketing Manager under Citrix Workspace Services, predominantly focusing on virtual app and desktop part of the portfolio.
Awesome, thanks. And a guest of honor today, Mick. Mick, you want to tell the audience quickly who you are and what you do at Star2Star?
Yes, thank you. Very briefly, I'm the Executive Vice President of Channels here in the US. My focus is really at two levels. At one, it's all about delivering integrated communications through our partners to their end customers. And obviously, we're going to talk a lot about that today. And my second area of focus is developing some of our strategic relationships, such as Citrix, where we can accentuate the value that we're delivering at multiple levels to ultimately our customers and, of course, our channel partners.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, and looking forward to hearing from you today, Mick. All right, so just to kick this off, I want to take a quick minute to talk about Citrix Ready. Some of you may have attended our earlier webinars. Some of you may have been new on this. So Citrix Ready is a program at Citrix where we evaluate and verify third-party partner technologies, such as Star2Star, our partner in the webinar today. So what we've been able to do over the years is really become the #1 source where our customers come, where you can basically explore the partner technologies. And once you see certain technology that has been certified Citrix Ready, you can rest assured that you can implement and deploy these technologies in your infrastructure, and you'd have a seamless experience, right? So we do have a marketplace with a large array of partner technologies available there. So please do try and visit the marketplace at citrixready.citrix.com. Moving on, there's also a promotion on this webinar. Every 10th attendee on the webinar will receive a set of wireless earbuds. I'm afraid due to logistics challenges, we can only give out these gifts within the US. I see some of the audience are outside of the US as well. Apologies for that, but please stay tuned. And at the end of the webinar, we'll tell you how to claim the gift. With that, let me hand this over to Nitin. Nitin, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Rubal. Before we get into a little bit of the details as far as what it is that we're covering today, I wanted to kind of quickly highlight sort of how it is that when we're looking at developing solutions, it's to help address some of the key changes that we're seeing. A lot of the industry challenges that IT administrators are trying to solve, whether that's ranging from addressing and reducing security risks within the environment, like basically reducing the threat footprint that a lot of organizations are facing and trying to maintain, consumer protecting of consumer data, as well as employee data, as well as just overall corporate data. We're also looking at, developing our solutions, addressing the, customers to be able to help them migrate over to the cloud, and creating a solution that not only makes that shift easier, as we're seeing more enterprises take that shift more seriously compared to previous years, but also helping them with tools to actually help monitor and optimize public cloud costs. And then with that also kind of going into and addressing, providing contextual access when it comes to how users log into their corporate information. And then most importantly, and I know I'm kind of going counterclockwise here, but wanted to touch on remote access. Citrix has had a long time of success, helping organizations develop the capabilities of remote access, but obviously we've seen a lot more of that over the past year as more organizations actually shift more of their broader workforce to be remote. And going into this year, where we're seeing now even just customer conversations of having, a lot of those remote workers are probably going to be more permanent. We even saw like a recent Upwork study that showed that the plans are more organizations may have about 20 to 30% of their workforce just be remote completely. So it's developing a solution that helps balance a lot of these key initiatives, and I'm sure there's plenty of other challenges that various organizations face, but the key thing is here is we at Citrix do a really good job of addressing helping customers address those changes, but we also partner with key partners within the software ecosystem to actually help further make those develop a solution to help make that addressing that challenge easier. So specifically, when we're talking about this webinar, like how Citrix and Star2Star are working together to help further address, the ability to access corporate information without necessarily impacting the end user experience, and also making sure that it's seamless and also not only seamless but also secure. And I'll actually hand it over to Mick to kind of touch on, what it is that Star2Star is doing about that, and some of the things that they're seeing.
Okay, thanks, Nitin. Next slide, please. So before I jump into to who we are and what we do, I just want to put it a little bit in context, and it touches on a lot of things that I've been discussing with Nitin and the Citrix product teams. Fundamentally, all of us are living it today. There's some underlying trends globally in our work environments, and also how we engage with our customers. The complete workplace is accelerating. You often hear on the news, in the papers where you're reading on our, everything related to business, people are often saying, 10 years of change has happened in a matter of 18 months or two years. That digital transformation is accelerating, etc. Regardless, across the board, what are the consistent things that are happening is, one, people are increasingly going to be working from home. Secondly, how these people engage with their customers, not to mention how they collaborate internally within an organization, is also evolving and changing. I remember reading recently that for those businesses that will survive will be those that have become the most efficient. That translates into how effective have you been in terms of your digital transformation. And some of the things when you read, reading material out there in the data from a variety of sources, consistent themes that come up in terms of concerns of both buyers, i.e. customers, clients, patients, and ultimately employees, and how they can collaborate and communicate together, of course, is how do they communicate? Some of their challenges are around leveraging multiple tools, how to bring them all together, how to deliver and use these technologies and these tools in context of their role and their relationship relative to other employees and their customers. So all of these things underpin a consistent evolution and an accelerated evolution in the workplace. So Star2Star is very focused in terms of some of the things that we can do in that space to enable our customers and our channel partners to become much more efficient and productive and deliver greater level of value both to their customers and, of course, ultimately their clients and so forth. So who is Star2Star? Next slide, please. I'm not going to sit here and just explain to everyone what unified communications is. I defer to you, but let me just explain who Star2Star is, though. We're 400 employees. We work purely through our partner ecosystem. More than 1 million users. You guys, I'm sure everyone can read there what we've got there, but some things stand out relative to Star2Star. And we maximize these things that stand out because we're bringing to that value in terms of partnering with Citrix. One of the things that I mentioned here, we've got more than 1 million users in our ecosystem of customers out there. That's great. I can turn around and say, of course, we're one of the best solution providers out there in terms of communication and how our technology comes together. But the rubber meets the road where customer satisfaction is concerned. We have one of the lowest rates of churn in terms of our customer base in the industry. That's reflected, and of course, everyone says 5 nines. I'm sure everyone on the call says, I've heard that a bunch of times. But where the true proof point is not only in terms of our retention, okay, but also the quality of service that we deliver our customers, which ultimately translates into the length of relationship that we've had with our customer base, which is north of 10 years with our average customer. So that's a reflection not only of our ecosystem of customers and partners, but also the technology stack that we bring to the table, which I'll touch upon as we go through. The other interesting thing that we do from a Star2Star perspective is we brought that complete technology stack, and we're very conscious of the changes that are happening in that workplace. So we've taken our technology and we're working at a great level of detail with a dedicated development team working with Citrix to make sure that our complete technology stack is Citrix ready. What does that mean? It means that not only can our Citrix customer base now leverage our technology to deliver value to their employees and have an integrated solution, which I'll touch on as we go through, but also from our partners, because I'm sure there's some partners on this call, it allows our partners to incrementally deliver more value to their customers. Similarly, we're also very conscious of the relationship between Citrix and Microsoft. Hence, we're very focused also in what we're doing in the WVD space. So our complete technology stack across the US, North America, and through our partners globally is all about focusing on quality of service, enabling it to be delivered via a VDI solution for the purposes of this call, and maximizing the productivity we can ultimately bring to employees and customers. Next slide, please. So just to touch on our technology stack, some of the unique things around Star2Star is this technology has been, whether it's our voice or through our video solution and so forth, the most important thing that I want to convey across to everyone here is when everyone thinks about UCaaS, they often say, hey, it's just about a voice solution, it's a phone solution. No, in the case of Star2Star, we do some very unique things. First of all, the complete technology stack has been developed bottom up with SaaS cloud focus, delivering efficiencies in terms of that digital transformation strategy in place, and making sure that our technology stack, no third-party technologies, our technology stack integrates from end to end to deliver that digital experience that our customers and our partners are expecting of us as we move through the 2020 into 2021, and which is accelerating today, right? So our stack, our complete platform includes everything from voice to our contact center and collaboration, our CPaaS solution, which I'll touch on later on, which is a foundational to our micro app approach, and of course video. And we're also conscious of the fact that many of you out there today, we call it DAS, but many of you out there today are using either hosted desktops through your server MSPs, that may be Citrix service providers, or you've brought that technology in-house, still leveraging it off cloud. But the important, the common denominator though is that you've made an investment in Citrix, in the best user experience in the market, and we see our technology playing within that VDI session and that underlying technology, so you can accelerate that ROI that you've made, that investment you've made in Citrix, but also deliver that uniform end-to-end digital experience to your customers. And ultimately, of course, we've also got our SD-WAN solution, which is part of the complete technology stack that we provide for both on-premise and cloud-based failover and so forth to our customers. Next slide, please. In terms of the markets that we start playing, great alignment, obviously from a Citrix perspective, and I'm sure there's many of you that sit across these industries, but we work very closely with managed service providers across a number of verticals. Healthcare is obviously one of the, it's a no-brainer. It's one of the fastest growing segments for us. Manufacturing, state, local government. Obviously, we work with a lot of technology companies, telecom, and so forth. So as you can see, we've got a breadth of experience across numerous markets. One of the interesting things that we do here, and I'll touch on it later on, is that we also try, as part of our go-to-market approach, to identify new market opportunities where our partner ecosystem can go and deliver additional incremental value to their customers. So, for example, we may partner with someone with a channel partner that hasn't played in the automotive and transportation industry before. Well, we've got distinct solutions and levels of integration that have occurred in some of the products or applications that are common in that vertical, which is all about enabling our partners now to go into those markets and deliver more value and savings to auto dealerships, as an example. Okay. Next slide. So, as I mentioned earlier on, we've got a broad technology stack: video, collaboration, contact center, and so forth, all the way through to automation and so forth. But our strategy ultimately, though, is to bring all that together in one integrated platform with an end-to-end digital experience. Now, some of you may be aware that we've extended our integration to Teams. Many of you out there are making investments today in Teams. Nothing wrong with that. We want to add value from a voice perspective, and then extend that, of course, to other things that you may be doing in the enterprise. But all of that is about incremental value to your customer, your employees, and so forth. But in terms of specifically to Star2Star, our strategy is really ultimately, how do you maximize the value of our completely integrated solution stack? It's a SaaS cloud-based solution. It allows for the integration into third-party products, for example, Microsoft Office, G Suite. We've integrated. We have many customers that we're working with today that are integrating their third-party applications or homegrown applications, whether they're in the healthcare vertical, whether it's Salesforce or a CRM solution, etc. We're integrating that into our solution stack so that we can deliver that end-to-end digital experience, but also, as I kind of highlight on the left hand there, contextual collaboration and communication, so that when an employee engages with other fellow workers or with their customers, they can do it in context of their role, or in context of the application that they need to do to complete their mission or their functional role within the business, or to engage seamlessly. If you're a doctor, for example, how do you engage seamlessly in the context of the particular application you're using with your patient, ensuring that it's fully encrypted, but not making it too complex for your patient where they have to download applications and so forth? How do you do that in an integrated fashion? Now, some of the other interesting things that we do, though, is we're so confident in our technology and our solution, and one of the value adds of owning our complete technology stack is that we don't have to worry about third parties, license fees, or the complexity around integration and so forth. Many of you, I've probably worked with some of you on this call, we guarantee our savings. Typically when I'm working with a customer through our channel partners and so forth, we deliver typically on 30% cost savings when they've integrated our solution into, from a pure voice perspective, collaboration perspective, and so forth. If someone is looking for that level of commitment, we will commit to the savings that we can deliver. We're that confident in terms of how our solution comes together. Similarly, we've got a lot of flexibility in terms of how we structure and bundle our solutions. But ultimately, you can all rest comfortable in the thought that all of this will run in your investment in Citrix, and it will all run integrated so that you can deliver that end-to-end uniform experience. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Mick. So so that's a lot of good information. So how do Citrix and Star2Star work together? Star Intentional, with virtualization, working with Star2Star, it's basically all about improving that user experience, but also without necessarily impacting, any sort of things that can compromise corporate data. I mean, we look at increasing productivity, pretty much on access of pretty much any device, so they can access their virtual apps, their desktops, whether they're web, SaaS, or Linux. Our intent is to sort of create that seamless end-to-end, digital experience. So, they're not accessing anything that's installed on their devices. So, but it's also to ensure based on our protocol and our HTX technology, how do we ensure that whatever they are accessing, they get the optimized video and call quality, also just making sure the fact that they get that local-like experience. And it's also just ensuring that we're delivering robust, administration tools, for, the managing of wherever those workloads are hosted, whether they're on-prem or in the cloud, whether you're hybrid or going full cloud, with, monitoring capabilities, and, to help ensure not only you're managing, end user impact, but also security impact as well as cost optimization for, for public cloud workloads. And it's also extending that unified communication experience, for customers, employees throughout, as Mick was saying, through contextual communications. I'll hand it back over to Mick because he kind of goes a little bit further into, exactly what that looks like from the Citrix and Star2Star, partnership.
Yeah, thanks, Nitin. So before I jump into this, I just wanted to kind of share, I've got a data point I remember recently reading that for those organizations, and some of this may be pre-COVID, but a lot of business make investment in communication collaboration solutions. But I recall the data, something like only 38% of those enterprises that made that investment in a communication solution got the return that they expected in terms of results. Similarly, for those organizations that rolled out a collaboration solution, something in the range of 32% achieved the results that they were expecting. So that kind of data played a lot in my mind as I was sitting down with the product teams here at Star2Star, and one of the benefits of being not a 10,000 person organization is, of course, that you can sit down with the product teams and we can collaborate and turn on a dime, so to speak, in terms of customer needs. So we had very much in our sights, how do you drive that productivity? How do you achieve the results that a lot of customers are looking for in terms of their efficiencies, the user experience, and so forth? So of course, Citrix was a no-brainer for us in terms of not only the presence, but the maturity of the solution out there, and how they go to market, how they support partners, and how they collaborate. So our focus here at Star2Star has been really how do we drive productivity across that Citrix ecosystem from an end user perspective. So key things that we've been focused on, of course, is completely integrating our stack, excuse me, completely integrating our stack into that user experience so that any employee or any customer or any client doesn't need to leave that workspace to go off and do things. That creates inefficiencies. It doesn't drive good best practice behavior, for want of a better description. It becomes a distraction when you've got to jump between multiple tools and so forth. Another area that we were very focused on, and I'm not going to read every one of these, but it was the intelligent workspace. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier on, working from home is a major trend. Nothing is going to change. Everyone keeps saying that we'll go back to normal. When are we going back to normal? Well, the normal is, I have many customers that are saying 30 and 40% of their workforce just won't be coming back to the office. They'll be permanently working remotely. So how do you factor into that? How do you play into that and deliver value? And of course, AI and intelligence and the ability of a desktop is something unique that Citrix is bringing to the table. And we were very excited here at Star2Star when we saw that trend, and of course wanted to tap into it, given some of our underlying advantages. So really, from our perspective, moving forward, that intelligent workspace is going to be a critical evolution that we will play a role in. Similarly, some of the other things that in that Citrix universe that we're very focused on, of course, is digital transformation. Ultimately, and I'm sure many of you on this call are looking at how to deliver efficiencies, greater efficiencies. Everyone calls it digital transformation, cloud migration, the knowledge worker, but ultimately it's all about efficiencies, right? How do employees work more efficiently? How does my architecture work more efficiently, and so forth? So we are about how do we accelerate that? And of course, again, Citrix was a key part of our approach there. But having said that, you can have endless integration with that workspace. However, the mission critical applications is where every worker delivers on what they get paid to do every day. Those mission critical applications is where every enterprise, whether they're an SMB, a mid-market player, or a large enterprise, every business relies on these applications to engage with their customers and perform their functions and do business every day. So these are the areas that we very much focused on in terms of how we integrate, how we play with these things, and how do we take that complexity and cost so that we can drive not only the right behavior in terms of employees so that they have the right level of adoption, right, but ultimately how they also engage with their customer who's also changing his or her behavior in terms of how they engage with their vendors and so forth. On the partner side, of course, it was all about, for those of you that are partners on this call, Citrix partners, our focus there was how do we enable these partners to deliver incrementally more value to their customers. Okay, so for the customer, it's about ROI and value add. For the partners, it's about, you know, how do we help these partners to incrementally improve the portfolio of services they can take to customers and deliver more value and a better relationship and so forth. And of course, Citrix Ready ultimately was the bottom line for us in terms of our certification. We're unique, I can't emphasize that enough. The uniqueness of our technology stack puts us in a very competitive position, just to be slightly selfish there for a moment, in that we have got an early mover, an early adopter advantage in that we are Citrix Ready and that we are unique and taking that complexity out of, for those of you that are using a communication collaboration solution today that doesn't run on Citrix, you should be talking to us and we will make commitments to you in terms of what we can deliver. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Mick. Just waiting for the slide to transition on my end here. A little bit of a delay. So yeah, I'm going to come over, like Mick kind of touched in on this a little bit about what the Citrix Intelligent Workspace is and the micro app, and you may have heard the term micro app a few times on this presentation, but I wanted to kind of dive in there for folks that are not familiar with what it is that we're doing when it comes to improving productivity and experience, specifically with the term micro app. So, you know, like we kind of developed a new Citrix Workspace. We sort of redesigned what it is to access and how people work, and what our intent is to basically make people more productive and improve that user experience when it comes to you know, getting the job done, whether or not they're at home, they're in the office, and whatever device that they're using. So like anybody, like people log in and they start their day, but when they start their day, they're usually inundated with, you know, a number of applications they're using. They log into an internet site, but then they also have a number of beefy applications that they only really use, you know, a small percentage of it. A good example is you have a multifunction office printer, fax copy machine. There's a number of buttons on it, but most people just use that machine to just do copies. A lot of times you can maybe send a fax, but it's basically, it does a lot, but people only use a little bit of the functionality of it. Same thing can be applied to applications. So when we thought about it, you know, there's a good example of how someone interacts with all the applications that they go through on a daily basis. So this is Maria. It's a good example of Maria. She's got a number of tabs open, various applications in those tabs. And then it kind of showcases, and apologies if there's a little bit of a delay in the video. I am playing this through, you know, the webinar. So it just shows that the fact that if she wants to make a vacation request, she has to log into Workday, put some time off in, and you know, then she remembers she has to go jump back and respond to a message that she got in Microsoft Teams about a status report or approve an expense report. So she has to log into another application, go to Concur and approve an expense report, you know, kind of filter through and hop into that application. Then she realizes that, you know, her soft phone's not working, so then she needs to put a ticket in through ServiceNow. So she has to hop to another application, another tab, you know, put that request in. And then she realized she got an email from her boss, you know, checking the status on a deal. So she should log into another application, jump over to Salesforce, and check the status of that. That deal is whether or not they close it, and then she has to email her boss back. So a number of applications that he had to jump around just to do, you know, some simple tasks. So a lot of times the apps aren't fully utilized, and she's like bouncing back and forth between the various applications. So what we did, you know, basically that kind of, you know, when we're looking at the Citrix Workspace, it's all how do we, you know, make that employee more productive, which, you know, if you improve that experience of how that is that their workday can be more productive, lead to better customer satisfaction, we also improve profitability and potentially revenue growth rates when it comes to implementing an IT solution within your organization. So from us, we developed the Citrix Workspace. So it's basically all about aggregating all of their apps that they interact with on a daily basis, their desktops, whether it's a cloud desktop or a Windows 10 desktop, and sort of creating that unified experience where she just has one login and she's able to access everything without having to do multiple logins or having multiple tabs open. So a good example of this is the Citrix Workspace UI, and you'll notice that basically, she has access to all of her apps here, and then she also has access to her various desktops. If she needs to access some specific Linux apps, she can launch it right there. And she also has all her files there, and we actually integrate with all the major online data vendors, but it basically gives her all access to one single unified experience. But the key thing here is when we going back from the previous example on how she was jumping between various applications, we developed what's called the Intelligent Workspace with micro app capabilities. So instead of having to launch a full-blown application to do something, there were tasks that she had in her activity feed. She could pretty much approve that expense report because that was some sort of outstanding action that she had to do based on her role. She could even, there it goes. She brings up her expense report. She can actually approve it from the activity feed without having to launch the application. She could also, create calendar invites or even create a service ticket within her actions. Basically, these are all micro apps that are tied within the broader application, but she doesn't have to launch the full app. It all can be done from the Citrix Workspace. And then if she wants to check the status on an incident report, she can actually just go through our Microsoft Teams integration, what's called like send to Teams, to basically send that right into Teams, and it sends a message to her help desk, checking the status on the actual incident that she put in. So there's some minor examples. There's some broader examples that we have. I mean, we could kind of go into what the Citrix Workspace with Intelligence does for about its own webinar, but I wanted to kind of quickly highlight that and hand it over to Mick to kind of talk about how Star2Star is working with this.
Thanks, Nitin. Before I jump into this, as I mentioned earlier on, our focus has been really how to drive productivity. And you can't drive productivity unless you can also accelerate, enable, drive adoption, user adoption, and change behavior in terms of how people leverage technology around. In order to do that, though, you've got to take away complexity. Hence, our focus on a completely integrated solution that scales. So if someone only wants a voice solution, they have a voice solution. If they want to extend that ultimately into a contact center, collaboration, video, and so forth, our solution plugs and plays and extends appropriately and scales relative to the needs of the customer. However, again, where the rubber meets the road is my ability to use this in terms of an application that is key to my performing my job function every day. So I know, Nitin and I, or Citrix and Star2Star will be doing a follow-up presentation around a deep dive around how we do this at a technical level. However, I want to use one simple use case here that we've worked on from a micro app perspective, and I think it's foundational to how everyone works today. So very simply, think about a use case where I'm sitting at my desk, I'm on a conference call, and I'm obviously leveraging my intelligent workspace, and I've missed a number of calls from someone. So today, you've got to pick up the phone, you've got to go and call that particular person, press a whole bunch of buttons or a redial button, whatever the case may be. They don't pick up. Think about the scenario now where you say, that's an important call. You've got the voicemail. Hey, Mick, I've been trying to reach you. So you try and schedule a follow-up call. Okay, so I've got to jump out of that. I go into my Outlook. I find a calendar invite. I draft a calendar invite. I create an agenda, or what's the topic about? Find the person's details, stick an email in there, etc., etc., etc. Everyone knows we do it 101 type stuff every day. Okay, our focus is, okay, so if that's the scenario from a micro app perspective, how do you automate that? Okay, because as I said earlier on, Star2Star no one on this course should think about Star2Star as a pure voice or phone business. We're an ISV with a complete technology stack. But the critical part is not only is it the quality of our voice and the simplicity of our technology, but ultimately how do we integrate into that application and automate workflow? And our primary goal ultimately is always to deliver in context communication. I think I've flagged this a number of times, and it's an industry term. Everyone I'm sure is familiar with it out there, which enables that employee to communicate with other employees or customers in context of their relationship, typically in context of an application, okay? And enable them to have flexibility around how they want to communicate and so forth. So what we've done here at Star2Star is we've taken that workflow, and now you can right-click on that phone number or that email with the person's signature block underneath it, etc. Try and dial them off your soft phone or running on your with a simple click on your Citrix desktop. Missed the call, great. You go, from a micro app perspective now, you fire off a follow-up in terms of, again, having a choice and flexibility in terms of the mode of communication. You schedule a call, right? So you want to do a calendar invite, etc. That complete process in terms of clicks. I remember going through it with the product team and one of our sales engineers a few months ago. It was something in the range, something like in the range of about 50-55 clicks. Remember, you pick up a phone and whatever. And of course, our goal was, how do you streamline this? How do you automate this process so that we can deliver, again, that productivity gain? But as I said earlier on, you will not achieve it unless you make that user experience seamless and automated. So of course, the net result is, we were able to reduce those clicks by about 75%. Now, I appreciate that I'm talking about clicks here. But to Nitin points earlier on, think about your number of employees. They're doing X clicks, they're jumping through multiple applications, clicks aside, distraction, and so forth. User experience, am I really leveraging the investment my company, my business has made in Citrix if I'm jumping out of this and doing other things, okay? So we reduced it by 75%, and the complete process now is enabled through our micro app integration. And my point in using this particular example, and we will be coming out with a little video in the next couple of weeks just to share out there with Citrix and our customer base and so forth. But that's a very simple example from an outlook. We're also working in the healthcare vertical, okay? And there'll be another one coming out, hopefully in the next 30 or so days, again showing us from a Cerner perspective how we again automate that workflow so that user experience is there. That's it. How do we do this? What technology are we using? What solution are we using? Next slide, please. The underlying technology that we're using here, and we've been working with it with our Citrix counterparts from a product perspective, is Integration Studio. You saw in our portfolio of products, CPaaS, the more appropriate term from an industry perspective, but Integration Studio is our specific technology. And I often get smacked around by our product team when I say low code, no code. As it was pointed out to me a few weeks ago, there's no such thing as no code. It's a low code platform that allows for integration and automation. But there's some interesting, unique differentiators for us in this space that is enabling us as a business to accelerate our development and of course deliver incrementally more value to our customers or our partners' customers. Okay, one is our ability to access multiple systems of record. Okay, I'm not a bits and bytes technical guy, but sitting on the calls with the product teams and our development team and Nitin and the crew, that is foundational to an efficient and effective micro app strategy in that Citrix Workspace. Because ultimately, think about it, I'm accessing records from Outlook, I'm accessing Active Directory and so forth to correlate information. I'm looking at a calendar, I'm looking at what particular application an individual is using, where do they sit relative to the day. There's also source information, ID information relative to someone's phone number, et cetera, right, that comes into play. So we're accessing multiple systems of record, bringing that all together and correlating okay, so that we can prioritize and make recommendations to that employee or that worker in terms of their next activities. And think of the scenario where, someone's on a conference call and, hey, you just finished it. Mick, you've missed 3 calls from Nitin, and you've got 40 minutes between now and your next meeting. What do you want to do next? So I go back into that example that I articulated earlier on, the previous slide. The other thing that's important for us in terms of differentiation is, of course, our single automated workflow. I was talking earlier on this morning about some of the underlying trends, and we may touch on it at the end of this call. But the complexity across multiple applications, the complexity associated with integration and the cost associated with that is all impacting business, especially in the digital world. So our focus is really how to take our unique advantage relative to our technology stack and all the unique differentiators that has in terms of integration, user experience, and so forth, and then extend that all the way through to that application so that you can ultimately deliver a contextual communication or the flexibility of what mode an employee or a customer or a client wants to use in context of a relationship, time, day, and so forth. And of course, we plug in our APIs, low-code development, and so forth to accelerate that. Now, from an end user perspective, that's about simplicity. That's about speed. So for those of you out there today that are working with third-party applications, homegrown, Salesforce, Microsoft, Dynamics, and so forth, you should be calling us because our solution is about extending that automation into those applications, okay, and allowing for data flow and productivity to happen relative to your employees and so forth. For the partners on the call, our intent, and we've already started doing this with a number of partners, is to make this solution available to our partners. Why are we doing that? One, it enables them and empowers our partners to incrementally deliver more value to their customer base. Of course, it's integrating into our communication, collaboration solution, and so forth. However, it's about enabling our partners to, one, firstly, grow their professional services experience, two, develop their own intellectual property that they can sell that differentiates them in the market. But most importantly, and I think we will all agree on this, is that the whole purpose of a partner ecosystem is to deliver incrementally more value to these customers out there that are using Citrix-based technology and that are looking to accelerate digital transformation, drive adoption, reduce cost, enable simplicity, and so forth. So for those partners on the call, please reach out to us. I'll put my details at the end. We are more than happy to work with you in terms of enabling this technology and providing it to you. And of course, to the customers out there, reach out to your partners or reach out to us directly, and happy to have this discussion. Next slide, please. So I mentioned partners. I just wanted to highlight some of the key things that we do here, because obviously from a Star2Star perspective, for the customers, for the Citrix users out there on the call, we don't generally engage with customers directly. We work only through our partners. So I wanted to kind of share some of the unique things that we do for partners. For those partners, we work in a very integrated approach with your organization, and if you haven't got the scale, we take a lot of that work on ourselves in terms of marketing and branding and helping you differentiate in the market, create messaging that is unique to you. In fact, to the right here, just as a graphic, I've shared some of the unique things that we've been working on, that we've developed. My chief marketing officer is on the call. David and his team spent a lot of cycles developing white papers and so forth that we can share out in the industry. But we also customize a lot of this so that we can cater to the needs of your customers, because you're all different. Everyone differentiates. The development enhancement, I touched on some of this from an integration studio perspective, the uniqueness of our technology stack, how we bundle solutions. Plus, I've got customers out there that are saying, hey, listen, Mick, I don't need A, B, and C, I just need D. So, the fact that we own our technology stack, we can be creative in terms of not only how we license, but absolute flexibility in terms of how we bundle solutions to maximize the value that an end customer is looking for. Training, we do all the heavy lifting. We will train people, both end users if need be, and partners, of course, to enable them to go to market. But also, my commitment to all the partners out there is that what you will not get from Star2Star is, hey, here's my technology, and let's meet every 90 days and just tell me what pipeline you've got. No, we actively engage with you and your customers And as I said earlier on, we make a commitment to 5 nines. We make a commitment to guaranteed savings, and you can't do that. We can't make that commitment if we just walk away by giving you a bunch of technology to run with, right? So we are more than comfortable to engage to the nth degree with your customers and help them drive their business. And of course, commissions, you can do the research, or we'll reach out directly. We can run through the math. We probably have some of the best commissions. I know we have the best commissions in the market. Gartner reminds us that every time we do briefings. And our technology stack is second to none. Not only do we cover all the bases from a communication collaboration perspective, from a security perspective, a quality perspective, but we extend that portfolio and integrate it into spaces such as Citrix that our competition doesn't. And if they do it in a very complex, poor quality way that impacts business, impacts productivity, impacts adoption, and so forth. Next slide. Okay, so just in closing, these are my contact details. As I mentioned earlier on, if you've got applications, if you're looking to improve efficiencies, if you've got a digital transformation strategy, if you're a Citrix user, if you're a managed service provider, leveraging Citrix and providing Citrix-based solutions, if you're a VAR reseller of Citrix solutions, you should be talking to us about how do we deliver incrementally more value to your customers. If you're a customer of Citrix, you should be asking your partner, hey, why aren't you leveraging or introducing us to Star2Star? I will make a commitment to everyone on this call. Reach out to me or go to our website, reach out to me directly. We will make a commitment in terms of the value we will deliver and the savings and the process improvement that we can deliver through our technology stack with Citrix. On that note, I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mick and Nitin, for the presentations. This has been great, very insightful for me. Quickly, I know we've gone a couple of minutes over our 45 minutes. So how the audience can claim their earbuds? So pretty simple. Every 10th attendee is eligible to get a pair of those wireless earbuds. We'll look out for an email from us where you can collect your address, and once we have that, the earbuds will be on your way. As I mentioned earlier, due to logistics challenge, we can only ship the gifts within the US. I know we don't have too much time for Q&A, but since we do want to have a little interaction here, let's just take one question. And obviously, we'd love to take more questions. If you have more questions, please feel free to type them in now, and we'll take them up and answer over email, or later on you could reach out to Mick or citrixready@citrix.com, and we'll be happy to answer that. All right, so here's one question for you, Mick. Can Star2Star host premise-based line of business applications, for example, accounting ERP, that to be delivered via the DAS desktop, or would those apps need to stay local? And the second part of the question is also, can they still be incorporated within the virtual desktop if they stay local?
The simple answer is that we have the flexibility of both local and SaaS cloud-based applications. So happy to look at the detail, but we're completely flexible in terms of the approach. And we want, in the Citrix ecosystem, we want the user to be able to use all these things inside their Citrix desktop.
Right, absolutely. All right, guys, apologies that we've run over a little bit, but as I said earlier, please feel free to drop us your questions via email. Mick did display his email on the slide, and in case you want to reach out to Citrix Ready, it's citrixready@citrix.com. With that, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure hosting this webinar, and hopefully we'll see you in our next webinar. And thanks a lot, Mick and Nitin, for your time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.